Season 5 of the Clone Wars. All I have to say for this season is, wow plus. This season is improved by the last season, but that's not to say last season's bad. I'm going to get into why I kind of think both Season 4 and 5 are the same, but Season 5 is basically Season 4, but without the necessarily gruesomeness to it. It's kind of pure Star Wars again, but it's less violent, or I say gruesome. There is some violent stuff in it, but it's not as gruesome. I mean, there's still decapitation, but not as much. Ahsoka doesn't just slice necks of 4 troopers all at once. No, that does not happen. It's much more, like, less on that, but it still happens, but it's not as severe. Because I don't think they want to showcase all the gruesomeness again. We already had one season of that. We don't need another. But Season 5, what it does well, that it is consistent throughout, where the stories are all unique in their own ways, even the droid one. That's the thing, R2-D2 kind of takes a spotlight for having the worst arcs. Because whenever he has his own solo adventure, it turns out to be bad, or the audience of the shows think it's bad. C-3PO isn't the reason anymore, it's R2-D2 now. He's the one. Don't give him his own solo show, because he's all can be bad. He has his bad aura whenever he has his own solo episode. So it happened, I think, 3 times in a row now. 4, I'm not counting. But it happened 3 times so far. So basically every story and arc in this season is different, and in a good way. It starts off with a solo adventure with Maul, and it kind of is like I guess part 3 of the 2-part in Season 4, I guess. But then it goes to, I believe, oh yeah, the Saw Gerrera thing, yeah, the Saw Gerrera part, which I like. And I was planning to skip it, but then I kind of said, no, I'll watch it. It seems kind of interesting. It was interesting. And after that arc, which I like, surprisingly, also, it had her quote-unquote boyfriend, whatever, and I like him, especially in Season 4. I like him. You think he's a traitor, but then he's like, nah, he's a good guy. And after that arc was the Jedi youngling arc, which honestly I thought after the first episode of that was fine. They were getting the crystals, they all had their own flaws, which they overcame. I thought that was fine. We didn't need three extra episodes on them, but I like it. Also, if you saw the thumbnail, you see one of the Jedi younglings is voiced by, he's the same voice actor as Jeff Fisher from American Dad. I every time he spoke, I laughed. It's not like, he doesn't sound like a child. This is supposed to be a youngling, a child. Yeah, he sounds like a grown man, and he had the same nuances and kind of speech patterns that Jeff has in the show if you watch American Dad. And it's funny. It's just funny. I can only imagine the conversation to get him onto Clone Wars. Because D. Bradley Baker, who voices the clones, also he voices Klaus in American Dad, so I guess that was a connection. I guess D. Bradley Baker contacted George Lucas and probably got him on the show, which is a pretty cool thing to do, contacting. That's how Hollywood works, contacting. But, getting back on track, after I laughed my ass off every time he spoke, I like the arc. I like that Hondo is this interesting character. He, one episode he's bad, then literally the next episode he's a good guy, which is really interesting. I like that. He's different. And then after that was the droid arc, which actually the middle episode, I think it was actually the 100th episode, which I found pretty cool. Nothing really to say there. I think people classify that arc as the worst arc in the show. Yeah, I can see why, but it's notable because it had the 100th episode in it. Then the last 8 episodes, holy crap. This is what made me decide if Season 5 and Season 4 were on the same level or not. Which, those last 4 episodes kinda made it difficult for me to rank this season among the other seasons, because those last 4 episodes were really good. Like, they're probably the best that Star Wars has to offer in terms of this show, because the Maul arc, I should say first, is incredible. I love how it just played out. Like, I don't want to go into it, because I don't want to get into every little thing. There's so much that goes on in that arc. and it just hits on a very emotional level, and you're just starstruck. It's like in awe of just what is happening, and it's just season after season of build up to that moment. Like, I would not recommend watching that arc until you watch every single other episode of Mandalore and Mandalorians up to that point in season 2, 3, and 4, because it is worth it. And Maul and Savage, they fight Palpatine at the end, and Savage gets killed, and it's just, it's poetry. Because earlier in that episode, Satine gets killed, and Obi-Wan's mourning her loss, and it's just, it's irony, it's poetic. Star Wars, it's like a poem, it rhymes. That's George Lucas's famous quote. And it rhymes, because Maul is mourning the loss of his brother, Savage Opress, which I like that. That's literally what Star Wars is. The final arc is very haunting, because you get to see the lightheartedness of the prequel trilogy kind of turn into the depressing Empire. What I like is that a lot of what happens in that last arc, the Ahsoka arc, is very reminiscent of the Empire. A lot of the clones are kind of have the helmet on, so you can't see their face. Anakin sounds more like Vader than ever. Ahsoka was framed for something, and I'm surprised how it played out, because I always knew that she was going to leave the Order, but I didn't know how that happened, and seeing her just leave, the way it played out is kind of like that's what happened. Oh, it's a misunderstanding, but it makes sense in the way that they are presented with it. It's basically false information. It's fake news. They played that card back then. That's clever. But having her kind of kill this woman that basically did this bombing of the Jedi Temple, and she was framed, even though she's saying, "Oh, I'm innocent, Anakin, you believe I'm innocent," and Anakin does believe her. It's really heartbreaking, because throughout the series you get used to Anakin and Ahsoka being together. You like their bond. You like how she interacts with like Obi-Wan, Yoda, all the other Jedi, and to have that be taken away it made me tear up. I didn't cry. It's just I got a tear in my eye. Like, I don't cry when I watch a show or a movie, unless it's nostalgia. Like, whenever the opening crawl of Star Wars plays in the movie theater, I cry. But that's just from nostalgia. But in terms of like actual, like, crying from a movie or show, doesn't happen. It didn't happen when I watched the show, I should say, but I did tear up there. And when the arc ended, when she was going into the sunset, walking away, I had a tear in my eye. I like went back on my chair, and I just pondered. I was thinking. I pondered. I'm like, what did I just watch? And it's just I couldn't just rank the show right then and there. Like, that's why I don't talk about the show or season or whatever right after I finished watching it, because I need time to process it. And I just want to say, ranking the season is difficult, because both season 4 and 5 are very good, and I couldn't help myself, like, which season's better, because I like both seasons. Which one's better? And that's why it was very difficult for me. I spent a couple days trying to decide which one's better, which one's should I put below it, and I finally made a decision. So where do I put season 5 of the Clone Wars, you may ask? Well, I'm going to tell you. Season 5 of the Clone Wars, it's above season 4, but below Revenge of the Sith. And as you see, there's a trend. I'm putting each season above the last one because how good it is, but season 5 was originally below season 4, because I thought season 4, to me, it was more like a personal decision. I like season 4 more, but after thinking about it, season 5 is better by the slightest. Like, there's such a slight difference in how I feel about each of those two seasons, but both season 5 and 4 are amazing seasons. Best of the best of Star Wars. And it was just very difficult for me to rank it, but I finally ranked it, and I'm glad with the result. But just to let you know, both season 5 and 4 are really good. Do you agree or disagree? I'm gonna assume a lot of people are gonna agree because I think season 5 is what I consider to be the most, like, the peak. Like, it's just God tier, God plus tier. He is amazing. So, do you agree or disagree? Because I'm gonna go end this whole discussion because I have to. Cause I can just go on and on about season 5, but I'm gonna end it here. I'm gonna go now. So, goodbye, everyone.